I was an infant when the great serpent god attacked our land. Father said that it used its magic breath to burn away our cities in order to purge us of our sin and indulgences. That it roared and summoned the monstrous winds and waves to clean our lands and wash away the innocent blood spilled from war. How its body glittered the purest colors in order to show off its brilliance and majesty to us all so that we may never forget it. Father says that its eyes could see all and counted the transgressions committed by all, swallowing up the impure and unrighteous. Its countless number of teeth chewed up the damned. The thing is, the righteous were not safe either, like they believed, for they too met the same fate. Father says that even the good-hearted were slain for their impassivity. The rainbow god would bring death to all it came across. When I asked what happened after it left us, my father smiled. It brought back the beauty of our land. He gestured, showing lovely green pastures and bountiful waters. But be warned, if we do not stay humbled and close to nature, the rainbow god will strike us down. Do you understand, son? Yes, father, I whispered, looking at the painting of the serpentine god stretched across the cave wall. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you a SCP Foundation Tiamat class object, SCP-6004. SCP-6004, also known as the Rainbow Serpent, is an unbelievably massive entity that resembles a monstrous snake that can morph its body to either be just over 1/10 of a mile to as big as 1,100 miles in mass and size. The head of the entity shifts between different species of ophidians, leaving its true face unknown. Puzzlingly enough, 6004's body is both at the same time tangible and intangible at random intervals, and whenever it chooses to. Speaking of its body, it is mostly charcoal black, but with rings of different colors around its body. 2 curved horns with the engravings of different animal species, and a number of teeth impossible for any creature to possess. 6004 is able to propel itself through the air and water by moving in a serpentine fashion faster than the speed of sound. Due to its combined speed and size, its movements will cause tsunamis to form and sonic bursts to surge through the air. Mentally, 6004 is able to alter the weather across the planet simultaneously, whenever it wills it. Finally, 6004 is capable of swallowing and regurgitating anything that it wishes, but will often swallow animals only to throw them back up into where they belong. After the Foundation failed in its efforts to stop 6004, they decided to join forces with the Global Occult Coalition, GOC, the Church of the Broken God, and Marshall, Carter, and Dark Limited in the construction of a weapon, a long-range charged particle emitter, or Project Mongoose. A meeting was called by O5-1 following the failure of the prototype of Project Mongoose. A representative from each organization and Site 14's director, Alan Tibbles, were present. Oh, how the great Foundation has fallen. Do you see now how containment of these creatures is pointless? My dear O5, surely you understand now that if you were as dedicated to the eradication of anomalous entities as we are, we would have the technology to kill this behemoth 10 times over. That pathetic particle emitter barely hurt it. Do not speak to me about what we should have done. Billions are dead. Australia blown to ashes. Russia incinerated. The USA nearly underwater. Need I go on? The petty squabble we have cannot continue if we are to produce something to stop 6004. The prototype simply wasn't as ready as we thought. That is why we shall redouble our efforts and send a mongoose up into space for an orbital bombardment. But this time, it shall be bigger, more powerful. What does the Church of the Broken God think about this? I'm afraid I must concur with the GOC. If the Foundation was not so lenient with these despicable things, we would not be in this mess, especially after your Foundation has worked so tirelessly to thwart our efforts as well. The mongoose prototype was, and is, a failure, due to you stifling the growth of true saviors. What say you, representative from Marshall, Carter, and Dark? I get paid regardless. I vote for whatever plan is decided on. Just keep us alive and I'll play along. Get you all you need. Listen to you all. Do you not remember how that damned beast shrugged off 12 nuclear warheads and sent the radioactive wave to destroy all of Beijing? Yet all you care about is attacking the Foundation? The next mongoose will be enough. We simply need more time. It is your fault billions died, not ours. Their blood is on your hands and yours alone. And now you want us to risk our lives in the construction of something that will most likely not work at all? Fat chance. Site Director Alan Tibbles slowly stood up and looked at each representative one at a time, silencing them with a stern look. Things have not gone how we wanted them to. We all know that. The world knows of 6004's existence, and possibly numerous other SCPs at this point. We could barely scratch this beast, and you have good reason to believe we shall all die here. But you couldn't be more wrong. What are you suggesting? What I have to say is this. Our Foundation has defeated threat after threat, and extinguished every end-of-the-world scenario, every bloody god, and every reality-warping monstrosity you can think of, even when hope was lost. This is no different. We have saved humanity from destruction while you and the Church of Broken Gods sat around. The representatives only looked down when called out. Tibbles continued. Every day we fail, yet we learn more about this creature. And do you know what our biggest advantage is right now? The world knows of all of our existences. We don't have to hold back anymore. Following this rousing speech, the representatives then agreed to work on the orbital mongoose and to dedicate all the resources they had in order to destroy or contain 6004. After the successful completion of an orbital mongoose, 6004 target a GOC site and promptly began attacking it as it summoned the elements in a fury. Using this opportunity, 05-1 ordered for the mongoose to take aim at the behemoth. You have my permission to fire when ready, gentlemen. As soon as that weapon is ready, fire at it without a second thought. The beast has shown us no mercy, and so let us return the favor. A massive green energy beam that darkens the sky shot down at 6004, noticeably tearing and damaging its body, causing it to let out painful shrieks that shook the earth. Yes, do not let up. Give it all we've got. 05-1 and the representatives watched as 6004 attempts to flee from the particle beam while attacking the GOC site, until it finally had enough. 6004 roared, and with determined speed slammed its massive body down onto the GOC site, sending earthquakes throughout the area and nearly destroying the entire site. Full surge blast right now. I don't care if we destroy 200 miles of land. Use every ounce of power we have. A massive burst from the particle beam slammed into 6004. The energy from the wave killed all life within 300 miles of the blast. 6004 was seen rising through the smoke and began to charge an energy blast of its own, disrupting the beam from the mongoose. After learning of its location, 6004 charged into space towards it. It approached the mongoose and used its maw to destroy the device, before descending down to Earth as all of humanity feels their collective hope fade away. After 6004 came down from space, it disappeared for some time, before being rediscovered at what is now Site 6004 in Walamai National Park in an underground lake, deep in slumber. Many members of the Foundation, the GOC, wondered why 6004 ended its rampage so abruptly. Some think that after slaughtering billions, 6004 brought the world back to a state where it could be sustainable again and allow for the Earth to heal, to go back the way it used to be, before industrialization was brought on by humanity. Some thought that due to the Foundation working to transform the world into one that is more reliant on renewable resources, less mass urbanization, and the growth of nature at large, the Rainbow Serpent was pleased and returned to sleep. Both theories are believed to be true, as the destruction 6004 caused brought upon the prolific growth of nature and wildlife, and brought humanity down to a more modest population with less focus on excessive waste and consumption. However, the truth is, in order to prevent 6004's reawakening, Tibbles and Lloyd created 27 consciousness nullification devices to keep the beast asleep, to prevent another rampage. Amnestics were distributed worldwide through the air and water to keep all that humanity had learned a secret once again. The Foundation now tasks itself with ensuring the world follows strict environmental policies and protects nature, in fear of the reawakening of 6004. 10 years ago, in 1997, the Andes were shaken apart as a great entity stirred underneath. Magma burst up and flowed through towns and cities. Buildings crumbled from the intense tremors. Many lives were lost. 10 years later, the Earth cracked open, allowing humanity to catch a glimpse of a titan that lives beneath the crust of the planet, the Earth Serpent. A base was set up around the cracked Earth. Dr. Vasquez stood, staring down at the serpent. "Any updates?" "Sir, its life signs are stable, but that's pretty much all we got right now. It could wake up at any time, and there's no telling what kind of damage it will do when it does." As Dr. Vasquez observed the serpent, he couldn't help but feel that there was something more going on. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you SCP Foundation Esoteric Class Object SCP-4568. SCP-4568, also known as Dilemma of the Twin Serpents, consists of two massive serpentine entities. SCP-4568-1 is a massive subterranean serpentine entity that resides below the Andean Mountain range in South America. Current estimates indicate a length of at least 300 miles and a width of around 12 miles. The entity is animate and autonomous. It is composed of molten rock, highly compressed sediments, various metals, and ice. Sonar analysis have revealed the existence of artificial structures resembling clockwork, gears, and primitive circuits along the serpent's entire body. However, no studies have been able to determine a purpose to these structures, and they do not seem to be the mechanism behind 4568-1's autonomous movement. 4568-1 mostly remains dormant. However, at certain times, the entity displaces itself along the Andean Mountain range. Due to its gargantuan size, this usually results in large-scale seismic activity of a magnitude proportional to the degree of displacement. These movements are in response to 4568-2 exiting dormancy, and the seismic activity is intentionally caused by 4568-1 in order to incapacitate 4568-2. Due to the significant casualties caused by SCP-4568-1, the entity was at first presumed to be hostile. 4568-1 is sapient, with above-human intelligence and very high memetic resistance. While not actively hostile, it is aware of the casualties resulting from its seismic activity and considers them a regrettable necessity to restrain 4568-2. SCP-4568-2 is a marine, sapient, serpentine entity of comparable size to SCP-4568-1. It is comprised of water, sand, algae, and steam. It often incorporates extant marine life forms into its mass. These do not appear to be harmed by their absorption into 4568-2, although they exhibit some degree of usually beneficial mutation after exposure. Marine life forms have proven themselves capable of extricating and reincorporating themselves into 4568-2's mass at any time. 4568-2 is actively hostile to human life, having repeatedly expressed an intention to eradicate humanity. 4568-2 claims that its goal is to stop a great calamity that will result in the destruction of nature and the consequent elimination of all life on Earth. While at first this was thought to refer to some sort of ecological disaster, further statements by SCP-4568-2 now suggest that this would be a tangential after effect of a MK-class end of human consciousness scenario of undetermined origin. 4568-2 is capable of using resonance effects and vibrations to force water and other fluids to take on specific shapes. It employs this technique to maintain its own shape during its active periods and to cause massive tidal waves and anomalous oceanic activity. The seismic activity induced by 4568-1 disrupts these abilities, making SCP-4568-2 unable to maintain a consistent form out of water and forcing it into periods of dormancy. Council, based on the assumption that SCP-4568 is a sapient entity and is actively hostile towards humankind, I, on behalf of my research team, posit that 4568 should be temporarily neutralized. Temporarily? Why not just kill it? Or better yet, contain the entity in order to study it? It is simply too large for any current technology to kill or contain. The logistics to do so would be a nightmare. Plus, I get the feeling it's not doing it out of malice. Doctor, you are a scientist. Unless you can back up your feelings with facts, I say that a permanent solution is required. We have to put an end to this menace. The rest of the council all nodded in agreement. Very well then, if we are to go down that route, my team and I have come up with a solution that may work against 4568. Let's hear it, Doctor. We will inject a hostile memetic agent via a payload. That's our best bet. May God see us through this. The operation began as planned. While the memetic injection failed to fully neutralize the entity, it succeeded in temporarily incapacitating it. A research base was set up around the unconscious entity to monitor its activity. 8 hours later, a tremor began to shake the earth. Deep rumbling sounds penetrated through the base's thick shield walls and shook Foundation personnel to their core. The entity had regained consciousness. All stations stand by. Get ready to fire. Wait, hold. The doctor and his team monitored their instruments as the entity remained in place. Over the following hours, it initiated a series of small but continuous tremors following a specific pattern. These tremors have a deliberate feel to them. Just like before. It's like Morse code. Morse code? That's ridiculous. Get the linguist and cryptologist. If it is trying to communicate with us, we need to figure out its message. And surely enough, a message was deciphered from the series of tremors and was translated.
Humans of Foundation, are you truly the protectors of Earth and balance? If so, allow me to complete my mission. Horror lies deep in the sea, fueled by fear and twisted righteousness. What I do is the only way to stop them. I regret the loss of life due to my actions every day, but to not take action would lead to 10 times as many deaths.
In the sea? Is there another such entity? If the message is true, it sounds like it's trying to prevent something terrible. But what? While the debate regarding the interpretation of the message was still ongoing, Foundation personnel received automated alerts of significant anomalous oceanic activity along the Pacific coast. Deep sea sonar was deployed, and a massive serpentine entity provisionally designated SCP-4568-2, apparently composed of water and unidentified biological material, was detected. It emerged near Chile, causing a large-scale disruption in oceanic patterns. Council? If we let this go on, it will result in more devastating tsunamis that will wash over coastal settlements all along the Pacific. Millions of lives will be lost. But what if 4568 is our only chance? In its message, it talked about fighting against a certain terror in the sea. And now the threat has showed itself. Surely it would be wise to ally with 4568 against the sea serpent. Can the memetic payload be used against it again? That's the best shot we have. This time, we'll use it against both of them. However, this time, both serpents resisted Foundation's attempt. Another series of tremors were registered, from which the following message as deciphered.
I am very, very sorry. This is the only way.
The Earth Serpent shook its body once again, sending great waves through the earth and water, disrupting the Sea Serpent's form and thus preventing it from taking shape and causing mass destruction. The Sea Serpent's roar dissipated with the waves as it returned to dormancy. Though the Sea Serpent was stopped, a magnitude 8 earthquake was caused by the Earth Serpent's action, tearing apart coastal Chile. Again, human lives were lost. What do we do? The Sea Serpent was quelled by Earth Serpent, but at what cost? They're just fighting each other, while humans perish. The Earth Serpent claimed to be fighting against the evil Sea Serpent to prevent the destruction of mankind. But what if it all leads to the same outcome? Can we really trust it? The doctor was devastated by the loss of life. He despaired at man's powerlessness in the struggle against two rival titans. He walked out towards the broken earth, where he caught a glimpse of the Earth Serpent's great body deep underground, pulsating steadily. Earth Serpent, I don't know if you can hear or understand me, but if you are truly on our side, please give us a sign. We must stop this needless sacrifice of lives. If what you told us is true, we must work together. Moments later, the earth beneath his feet shook, and the Foundation's interpreters sprang into action.
Foundation, I know you cannot trust me, much less while you are still mourning your dead. I know what I did, just as I know the extremes you are willing to go to protect your kin. Yet we will never be equals, even though we share the same goals. You know, my brother, whom you call the Sea Serpent, also believes his duty to be of protection. There is a threat hiding beyond the stars, something incomprehensible, even to us. The human mind is a burning beacon in a sea of darkness. Would extinguishing it divert the attention of this threat? My brother seems to believe so. But I wonder, would it be worth it in the end?
Dr. Vasquez was elated that he could communicate with the Earth Serpent and was excited by the possibility of cooperation. Of course it's worth it. The threat that you speak of will not stop at humanity. Soon they will come for you and your brother. And if we're gonna stop this threat, we need him. We need the sea serpent's power." Dr. Vasquez and his team waited, but the earth serpent did not answer. Days later, another set of tremors were detected. However, these did not originate from the earth serpent, but from the sea.
Humans, I'm sure you can see it. How your world dies a little bit more every day, mostly by your own hand, no? You poison the oceans, taint the rivers, blacken the skies. You do not need angels of death to end your world. But there is something else. I see it in the bottom of your eyes. Something unforgettable. Inconceivable ideas cloaked in madness and impossible colors. Do you think I will let you drag the rest of the world down with you? Do you think I will leave this world, my world, to die in flames?
It's the sea serpent. Whoa. The earth trembled as the earth serpent spoke once more.
My brother, do you really think this death will solve it all? I can see the threat too. It hurts to think about it. I see it everywhere. The pressure, the suffocation, the dangers from beyond the stars. I know what will happen when it descends, and yet I think you are misguided. An idea exists only because some living thing was able to think of it. Have you even considered how such terrible concepts could have been given form? What if you are playing into the creature's hands? Why should I believe you? Why should I believe that such words come from anything but sheer cowardice? You know we have to do it. You protect the land, I protect the seas, and we both know what the enemy is. Yet here you are, protecting mankind, even though they will be the gateway for the ones who threaten us. Foundation, do you want to know why I am protecting humanity? Wouldn't it be easier to just let go? And maybe letting my brother do what he wants will really stop the threat approaching our world, an easy exit. But that is something I like about you, about mankind. However tempting it is to take the simplest path, to just give up, there will always be some among you who refuse this path. There will always be someone who stands up against the dark, even if it takes 1,000 million years to emerge victorious. I will save this world, humans. You won't be able to stop me. This is the only way. And I will do the same, brother. I will protect humanity against the threat. And you.
Following that exchange, the Foundation decided to allow the Earth Serpent's activity to go on unimpeded, and containment proposals are to focus on mitigation procedures, as this was viewed as the only way to prevent further losses. As for the threat from beyond the stars, its nature is yet to be determined. Lovecraft took his medicine and immediately went to bed. He had hoped that the new medications would quell the series of nightmares he'd been having. Suddenly, he heard a crash outside of his residence. He looked out the window and saw that the fog had returned again. Within the fog, something burned brightly. A car had crashed into the front porch of his house, and it belonged to his friend Agnes. "Calm down, Howard. It's just a car crash. The fog is just a coincidence." Lovecraft opened the door and approached the car carefully. He saw Agnes unconscious in the driver's seat. All right. This is real. This is happening. I'm not dreaming. Wait, what? What he feared had manifested itself once again in front of him. Out of the fog came the cultists, with torches and daggers in their grasps. In the distance, Lovecraft saw the gargantuan entity, which he had written about in his stories, rising and staring maddeningly down at him. This is madness! He had no idea how he survived that night, and the visions of his own creations would continue to haunt him. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you SCP Foundation Keter Class Object SCP-4315. SCP-4315, also known as SCP Lovecraft, is a recurring temporary event during which portions of an extra-dimensional space, designated as SCP-4315-1, interact with baseline reality. The event occurs solely in Providence, Rhode Island. During a 4315 event, SCP-4315-1 appears to overlay sections of the current Providence, causing individuals and entities to sometimes cross from one reality to the other. 4315-1's primary anomalous effect, aside from its transdimensional status, is the sudden manifestation of powerful and hostile entities within it, designated as SCP-4315-2. These entities often express elements extremely similar in appearance to those in the fictional works of horror fiction writer H.P. Lovecraft. 4315-2 entities vary heavily in abilities and appearance. Notably, instances of 4315-2 do not display hostility while within 4315-1. However, when crossing into base reality, they appear much more hostile. Upon Lovecraft's disappearance in 1937, his household was investigated by Foundation personnel. A notebook was recovered hidden between his bed and mattress. I've had god-awful dreams lately. I didn't know where I was nor who I was. Everything felt extremely blurry at the moment. There was a being that roamed in one dream. The monstrosity was truly, truly horrid. I will attempt to draw the hideous creature to the best of my ability, despite its true form being incomprehensible to the human mind. I remembered being alone on a ship. In front of me were nothing but darkness. Black sea that seemed to stretch far out into infinity under a rust-colored moon. I felt its presence, miles underneath. Then it revealed itself to me in the second dream. A towering beast. An ancient god slumbering deep beneath the sea. It had a head similar in appearance to that of a squid, 2 long narrow wings extending from its back, and 4 limbs with pointed claws. It rose from the seabed and gazed down upon me with its maddening eyes. Suddenly, there were cultists all around me, chanting in an unknown language. When I woke up, I felt like I was being hunted. I forgot to mention yesterday that the dream just kept getting longer, to the point that I could practically feel myself going mad inside of my own dream. The entity just gets bigger and bigger, its details becoming more and more horrifying as the seconds passed. The beast isn't just terrorizing me in my dreams anymore. I'm starting to see it physically as a hallucination. My mind is clearly far too set on the nature of this gargantuan entity. I had a different dream instead of the same one for the past 2 weeks. This time, I could make out my surroundings. The entity was also a much different one. The being looked like an elephant, yet resembled a leech at the same time. It was much smaller than the previous entity, but its appearance may be even more horrid. The being was extremely fast, dashing along the road, quickly sucking and draining the blood of anyone other than me. I watched my neighbors' faces go pale as the beast stuck its second mouth into their necks and slurped the warm, iron-scented liquid. Needless to say, they all died. As I began noticing that everyone other than me had become victims of this beast, it was already dashing towards me to finish its entree. Or perhaps I was dessert. I'm not sure, because I woke up before it could get to me. These nightmares are starting to really take a toll on my mental state. I'm terrified out of my mind and truly don't know what to do, especially after this morning. It was a foggy dawn. The streets were covered in a thick mist that some might find aesthetically pleasing. I'm one of those people who do, or did. Now I'm sticking with the belief that the mist brings only more harm to me and possibly the world around me. I saw shadows moving, lurking only tens of feet away from my humble abode. At first, they appeared to be humanoid figures, but slowly, the shadows that came and left began to grow more and more disfigured until they were now positively inhuman. Entities hunching over in the dark mist. They were undoubtedly the exact same figures in my nightmares. As they continued to come and go, they began to form into things I'd never seen before. They were still horrors, disgusting creatures that made snarling noises in the otherwise silent morning. My mind could only attempt to fill in the blanks, and I sincerely believe that my thoughts were nowhere near as horrifying as their actual physicality. The fog is gone now. I hope it never returns. I can't hold it in anymore. I must confess that these entities in these visions I've been having are those which I had written about in my works. Not only have they invaded my mind, but they have also crossed into our reality, in which case they will undoubtedly cause serious damage. Ever since Agnes's car crash and the fog incident, I knew for a fact my nightmares were real. Since these entities originate from the dreamlands, they're only as powerful as people imagine them to be. I simply couldn't describe them accurately, and that, in turn, helped us, but at the same time, hurt us. If I would have just made them weaker before publishing. Now, the next logical thing to do is to author stories explaining how these entities are actually extremely weak, maybe even taking the form of bunnies. But that's not why people are attracted to my work. Most people know these entities and how powerful they are as I describe them to be. And there's no way that people will rewrite these Dreamlands entities within their heads to make them weaker, because that's simply no fun. Because of humanity's shamelessly appalling desire to write about eldritch horrors and omnipotent killing machines, the yearning for chaos and destruction. This morbid curiosity of ours will bring about the destruction of mankind. One of the omnipotent entities I've written about, Azathoth, appeared before me in my visions. Different people think of it in different forms, but in my visions, it took the form of a giant worm surrounded by shifting constellations. Humanity is nothing but a speck within its dream. Should Azathoth ever awaken from its slumber, it will cease to dream, thus decimating the existence of humanity. It stirred and roused slightly in the vision, which I suspect was what caused our reality to break apart. These entities that come through from the other side are nothing but priests and servants of Azathoth. The fog appeared once more as I await their arrival. I simply hope that my stories are not just for their entertainment, but also as warnings. Soon after, an instance of 4315-2 managed to fully breach containment and enter baseline reality from 4315-1. The entity was none other than the popular Lovecraftian entity Cthulhu. A thick fog shrouded Providence. The gargantuan entity then came shambling out of the fog, followed by several cultists that quickly surrounded the town. Its deafening roar, coupled with the cultists' chants, had a maddening effect on the populace. It could not be fully contained, leaving the Foundation no choice but to only evacuate the area.